सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. I welcome you all with my love and respects. I have too many questions on yesterday's subject and discourse. Maybe I'll attend just one or two before entering into today's sutra, because it will help you to experience today's sutra deeper. Swamiji, in the thought flow of sage Vyasa and Shankara, at one point you mentioned that only when dharma is given up can moksha be attained. You had in an earlier discourse mentioned that Karna, the character in Mahabharata, was stuck in dharma. And only when Krishna is in the guise of Brahmin took away his dharma as a charity, Karna could be enlightened. Is the understanding of the thought flow appropriate? How would you explain next statement that dharma and moksha get integrated in a being? Please clarify. This is a huge subject. You should know the ultimate truth. Ego can destroy itself 99.9%, but not 100%. The last 0.01% will not be able to commit suicide. For example, if you take up a technique, for example, mantra. With that one thought, you will be able to destroy all 10 million thoughts you have. But finally, that one thought you will not be able to destroy. So, the thought on which you build your whole life and mind is called dharma. Ramakrishna, if you see his life, he built his whole life on that one concept, Kali. He was able to give up everything. Finally, Kali is not able to give up. Totapuri has to come and break and push him into beyond Kali. Karna built his whole personality on charity, giving. That was the base. He is ready to compromise with everything. So with that one thing, he almost killed 99.9% of his thoughts. But that last moment, unable to take jump from that thought, unable to take jump from that mental setup. It is a very sensitive and very subtle subject. If you have found your master, be very clear. Don't bother about dharma. His words are dharma. When he asks you to step out of dharma, do it gladly. You will be falling directly into moksha. But you need a tremendous trust. I have seen people can easily give up their money, family, all other things for the sake of master. But giving up what they think as dharma is the most difficult thing. They will be caught there. They will die in the 13th day of the war. All the people died under the army of Karna are the people who could not jump out beyond dharma and get into moksha. See, all the people who died first 10 days under Bhishma's thing, they all are people who are not able to jump out of parental condition and died. And each day, whoever is leading, whoever is representing, if you listen to the Mahabharata discourse, you will see very clearly, each person who was leading the war represents one concept. Drona represents the Acharya, not Guru, Acharya. So if you are not able to come out of the conditioning of the Acharya, all those people who died under Drona's guidance, they are the people who are not able to jump out of the Acharya. Karna was stuck on that one dharma, one concept. And another important thing you should know, if you like, the king is called as a god and savior. If you don't like, the same guy is called as dictator. That's the mind. Same way, this truth which I am going to express now, if you like, you can take this as a compassionate revelation, or you can say rule for exploiting. It's your mind. But as a factual reality, it is a compassionate revelation. Enlightenment or any spiritual growth is discretionary gift by master. There is no law with which you can earn it. To certain level, that feeling good can be earned by some laws, rules, sadhanas and all. But that solid experience itself is a clear discretionary gift from the master. When you stand by me or do what I am saying based on some of your understandings or your own concepts, all this time you lived based on your concepts. You did not do because I said. You did it because it matched with your ideas. Only when you do something which I am saying which does not match your idea, you take the jump into the surrender, bhakti, and enlightenment happens in you. You put your feet directly into enlightenment. But always the guidance from the master will be dharma in the large picture when you look. Unfortunately, you don't get to see that large picture before you enter into that enlightened state, space. So this is a fight goes on for ages. And again I happen to enjoy few people not even standing by dharma, few people getting caught in what they call as dharma, few people jumping beyond that and entering into moksha. These are the three groups. Few people who are not bothered at all even about basic dharma, they are destroyed demons. Few people who are bothered about something called dharma which was expressed in the earlier versions. See, just like last year's train timetable, if you try to use this year, it is called dharma. For last year it was moksha. For this year it is dharma, that's all. You go and stand in the railway station saying that this timetable says very clearly at 7:30 this train is supposed to come. But you forget the train timetable is last year's timetable. So if you are standing with last year's timetable, that is what we call stuck with the old rules. That kind of people will neither be punished nor be rewarded. They will be just wasting their time, stuck. But the people who are ready to update their timetable with their open eyes, when the master happens, ready to enter into the next space, are given moksha. They experience moksha. Karna's story is a right example. Krishna goes and lifts him out of that mental setup in which he is caught, on which he built his whole life, which is his very being. Shankara gets lifted out of his dharma by Vishwanatha. He is caught too much with that Jati Brahmana identity. He was able to give up everything just on that one pride, upper caste. And you will be surprised to know, in his own hand he has written as a rule for all his pitas, only the Yoni Brahmana, means by birth who is a Brahmin only can sit in the throne. If you are not a Brahmin by birth, you cannot sit in the throne. A man like Shankara, but it's okay. At least he was able to use that as a dharma and give up all other things. Then Sadashiva, Vishwanatha appears in Varanasi, initiates him. He comes as a Panjama, Chandala, who eats dog or pig, carries the pig flesh, and Devi, Annapurani, Mahadevi walks as assistant, carrying the dead pig's fish, dead pig body, and 4 dogs, Chaturveda, all the 4 Vedas come down as 4 dogs, having the piece of flesh and bones in the mouth. The worst, dirtiest scene. And Shankara is taking bath in the Ganges. After the bath, he comes out from that sacred water body, a deep, sacred, joyful mood. Taking bath in the sacred water body is a great experience. Taking bath in the sacred water body is a powerful spiritual practice. I'll sincerely recommend all of you, as much as possible, take bath in the sacred water body. So many reasons. Sacred water bodies are energized, so the spiritual vibrations can be transmitted, infused into your body through water more than through air. For example, now I am sending the vibration through air to all of you. But if all of us are sitting in a sacred water body, the levitation effect will be 10 times more. Please understand. Now, you and me, both are sitting in a same air field. So the vibrations get transmitted through air field. Please understand, it doesn't get transmitted through space. Through space only energy gets transmitted. Which is, I can say, not even the word energy is too small, consciousness. Only enlightenment gets transmitted through the space. But the levitation experience, all these energies get transmitted only through air. Now whatever I am transmitting to you, if the same thing, if we sit in a water body, that is why always initiations are supposed to be held in water body. All initiations in Vedic tradition, whether it is a Gayatri initiation, you are supposed to be standing neck level water. And the master will put his foot on the water and initiate you. Or the Brahmacharya initiation, or Sannyas initiation. Sannyas initiation, you are supposed to completely drown yourself in the water. Just raise your neck, that's all. Because the whole old dress has to be left as it is. you should be standing naked inside the water, only your neck should be seen. So, master will put the kavi on your shoulder. Then you should take that cloth and tie it around your hip, come out of the water. All initiations are held in sacred water body. So I will sincerely recommend all our devotees and disciples to take bath in sacred water body as much as possible. If you are fortunate enough to have a river near your ashram, like Ohio, but I don't know whether it is legally allowed or not. Legally allowed? Ma Shivananda? Then you guys try to have as much as possible, especially Ohio, I already energized. It is sacred water body. If you have the water body near your ashram or temple, and legally if it is allowed, never miss a chance. Never miss a chance. Of course, you should take care of your security also. Siddha tradition says the amount of blood in your body, for example, 100 liter. I am giving you an example, 100 unit, 100 liter. If 100 times more quantity water, if you take bath in that water, for example, 100 liter water, 100 liter blood flows in your system, 100 unit, let us call, 100 unit blood flows in your body. 10,000 unit means 100%, 100 times more. If you have the water body 100 times more than your blood's level, if you take bath in that water body, the pressure of that water which works on your body will take care, the whole blood circulation is purified, intensified, properly happens. You will not have any disease related to blood circulation or hypertension. This I am responsible. This word I am responsible because I worked with this concept. I have used this concept to heal many people. This is from Siddha tradition and I verified this. If you take bath in a sacred water body, the water 100 times more than your blood volume. If the volume of your blood is 1 unit, 100 unit water should be there. Means a river or a huge tank. The pressure created on your body will intensely make the blood flow happen. This is the physical level. This is just physical level. But in the sacred level, the spiritual level, if it is energized water body, sacred water body, never miss a chance. It will really do so much good to you. And I wanted all our ashrams, temples, plan to have your own sacred water body. Like all our ashrams should try to have basic things. Temple, a akada, sacred water body, open Anna Mandir serving anybody who comes, and Siddha Aushadalaya, Siddha Vaidyalaya, a basic home remedy and Siddha care for all the diseases. Even in US you can give because it's a food supplement. In all countries we can use this food supplement. You guys should think in what all ways you can expand, what all you can add. As many things as possible, have it. If you get a sacred water body and legal permit, I will donate 1 Navapashana Linga to you. Any ashram. You see, I can make 40 more Shivalingas. That much medicine we have. So, any ashram, any temple, our temples, our branches can create sacred water body and legal permission. I'll make one Navapashana Linga for you guys and donate. Whatever size you can accommodate. I can make it 5 feet or 10 feet or 21 feet. Ohio, if legally allowed, we can make it.